I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Ghosty and Lighty. But I left Lighty on, and so now he's also dead.
Whoa. Something that I don't think we've ever done this. Back-to-back songs from the same band outside of a themed week. But we did Angra, Temple of Hate. And then everybody started saying R.I.P. to Mateo. And we looked at it, and it turns out the lead singer, Matos, died of a heart attack on June 2nd. It's a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So, this is the most requested song. It's by Angra, and the name of the song is Carrion from the album Angels Cry. A lot of people were saying, do this song for the big homie. So, this is out of respect to the big homie, Andre Matos, inshallah. He's with the A and Soph and doing his thing up there. And really shout out to Brazil. So this is for Brazil. Their girls, the women's soccer team lost yesterday too.
Oh.
They were up 2-0 against the Australians, and the Australians came back. I was thinking about my man Dan Pogmore.
Yeah.
Also, we've got a very, very exclusive interview with someone that we did from the hospital, no less. That's coming out pretty soon. We just got clearance to publish that interview live.
Oh, we did?
Yep.
When's it coming out? We should release it on Patreon.
Yeah, it's already, well, it's up on Patreon, and then next week we'll have it released. So next Friday it'll be out. It's already early released on Patreon by the time of this video. So, shout out to the big homie, and let's do it. Carrion, Angra, let's go.
Go.
That's heavy, man, considering the big homie just died. Good Lord.
From what angle are you thinking, like?
Well,
From the people left behind?
Carry on, it seems to be like you're trying to move on from something.
Yeah.
And then it says, you have to leave the past behind.
Yeah.
Because there's a meaning to life, so you have to keep going. You can't keep holding on to the past. You got to move forward, which obviously
I think that's a good message.
Yeah, I mean, in this context, it's tough because he
right for them left behind. Yeah.
But it's always that strange kind of dichotomy of wanting to affirm the significance of the person that you lost while at the same time moving forward with your life. That's a really difficult thing to do, and I obviously have not mastered that skill as far as people I've lost in my life,
I think if I lost somebody that was super significant, like I'm not like I lost a grandmother. I was very close to her, but she was older. You know what I mean? It wasn't like losing somebody when they're like way too young to go. I think I would get a tattoo. I would do that. I think for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's refreshing to, in the face of death. It's very easy to, especially in metal, to default toward nihilism and everything is meaningless, blah, blah, blah. But they're saying, carry on, there's a meaning to life, which someday we may find. Mm-hmm. So, I'm assuming, somebody died when this song was written. The name of the record is called, Angels Cry. So I'm assuming it's about, the difficulties of life, basically. Mm-hmm. But it's refreshing to see someone, because in verse 1 it says, so loneliness becomes the law of a senseless life. So it's very easy to default to nihilism and all the other stuff when you lose somebody significant. And
I bet.
I appreciate, the funny thing is even the biblical characters fell into that. Job, when he lost his family and his kids died, he basically said, I should have never been born. I curse the day I was born. Mm-hmm. What is the meaning of all this type of thing? But these guys took a more mature perspective than Job did. Obviously, Job ended up figuring it out later on. Yeah. But in the midst of his pain, he slipped into nihilism. But these guys didn't. They basically said, there is a meaning to life. We may find it, it cuts right into that middle road of, I'm not going to pretend that I got it all figured out, but I'm not going to just chuck it all and say it's all meaningless because something bad happened to me or people that I love.
Yeah. Well, he says, so loneliness becomes the law of a senseless life. So, you kind of get from that when you're lonely and you feel the depths of that, then it kind of makes you feel like, man, everything is like worthless. There's nothing here that actually means anything. But if you look further down, he says, now you have to face another day in verse 2. You won't be alone. This life is forcing us to stay for how long? So he says you won't be alone. So, like, part of the way to face another day is, like, community is very important for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it helps you through your lonely days, and it helps you through, I don't think people were meant to just be off by themselves. Like, I think that they should be I think that times come that you have to kind of take some space and stuff like that. But, like, overall, like, when people, like, live, like, just away from all other people, like, I don't think that's good or healthy for them.
And there's a difference between solitude and isolation.
Right.
Right. And where that line is, I have no idea. But it's to me a very, very mature outlook. Because religious people, here's the thing, religious people feel nihilism from time to time. They feel that way. Yeah. They feel like all of it's meaningless, and they feel like sometimes like, what if none of this is real? And, this is all there is, and blah blah blah. But because of the context, many religious people feel compelled to pretend. Mm-hmm. I know I'll see so and so again. Da 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 da. When you may doubt that you'll see that person again, but you're not allowed to be real about how you feel in those moments. A lot of times in religious context, because and I think the reason is it's not because they're trying to be faithful to the Bible, because as I said, the folks in the Bible,
worried about what other people think.
the folks in the Bible react very nihilistically, you know, in the face of tragedy. I mean, they get, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time they get to the end and they go, okay, God, da 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 da. But they had that struggle.
Right.
But it's like, now in Christian circles a lot, you're not even allowed to have that struggle. You just have to pretend that you're, you know, whatever. So you can't express. And my theory about that is it's not because, you know, of the Bible. My theory is that everybody has these kind of doubts and insecurities about their own faith. And so when they hear another person voice those, then they go, oh my God, I'm not the only one that thinks that. And then it sends them into a panic. And so they just try to cover it up immediately. That's why we had that friend and she lost her husband. And, you know, a week later they were basically like, well, get over it, move on. Because they didn't have the capacity to deal with that level of tragedy and the type of questions she was asking and whatever.
Well, when people have brought like their like issues like that to me, like when they were going through those phases, it didn't make me feel like, oh my gosh, like my own doubts are being voiced by these people. It was more like, I didn't want them to lose faith in God, and so I was so worried about that I would, you know, throw out a cliche and stuff like that, like anything to keep them from losing their faith in God. I'm different now. Now I know that people are going to go through their doubts, they're going to go through their dark times, they're going to go through different things, and it's all just phases of the human existence. And sometimes it's just about sitting with the person and letting them work through those doubts, and sometimes it's, you know, it's giving them the word, like giving them a certain phrase in a time right when it's very much needed, but it's not always like that. And sometimes people are going to walk away from their faith, even sometimes temporarily or sometimes forever, you know, but I can't force anyone to have faith. Like, that's not what faith is. Faith is not a forced belief in something. You know, faith is, you come to faith and you know it, and it's a confidence that you have. Well, actually, that's where the word confidence comes from.
Right. Confident.
With faith, right?
With faith, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, nobody can force anybody to have faith.
Yeah.
That's something between them and God. If he really is a supernatural being, then I don't have to worry about it because he's going to work it out with them.
Well, yeah.
You know, I'm not the God.
Right. And that's the conclusion I come to is that, you know, I just, by God's grace, when the kids express doubt, or we've had the kids say, I'm mad at God, I'm not talking to God, and this is all bullshit, and I've just been so at peace with it. And, you know, you just let them, they got to go through it, you know. But I've heard so many, especially, you know, now, especially in the last year, we've become friends with so many atheists. And their parents, I remember there was this one dude, grown man, like very successful engineer, all that stuff. And he was afraid that his parents would find out that he was an atheist.
Yeah.
To me, that's sad to me, because I'm like, you know, if my kids ever were like that, I would hope that they would come talk to me. And, you know, like I said, the kids have expressed doubt and or upset at God or whatever, and I said, I mean, you and God got to figure that out. I'm with you. I hear you. You know, you don't jump down their throat to try to convince them that.
Well, it's crazy because if you're thinking about it, like, you know, Christians look at it as if you're away from God, then you are lost somehow. You know, like that's the wordage that they'll use. If your child is away from God and you want them to come back to where God is at, then, like, if your kid was lost in the woods, you wouldn't want them to be afraid to, like, call you and tell you, I'm lost. You know what I mean? You'd want them to be able to say, hey, like, I can't find my way out of here. I kind of thought I knew where I was going, and I didn't, you know? So, same thing, I think, with the relationship with God. Like, why wouldn't you? But I think, again, it's the fears, like, and maybe the appearance thing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, you know, like, my family, they were, like, up on a pedestal in the church, so if their, you know, if their daughter would have expressed, like, the thoughts that I think that I'm pretty sure now that when we were talking about it, when my uncle passed away, because he was younger, he was 40s, when he passed away, I remember going through, like, a phase of, like, feeling like maybe none of this is real. Like, at first I was, like, jealous of him. I was like, oh my gosh, like, he's with the himself, you know, like, he's good, he's straight, he doesn't have to deal with anything else on this planet anymore, like, he's with God now. And then, like, working through, like, well, wait a minute, like, whoa, what if he's not? Like, what if when you pass over that line, there's like nothing, or maybe there's some freaky world that you get pushed into, and it doesn't matter what your belief system is. Like, you had this, and now it's nothing, or it's something horrible, and you know, like you thought the whole time that you were on the right track, and all the while you weren't.
Tina posted this article about, like, I guess some quantum physicists proved that your consciousness could get transported from one body to another or whatever.
Yeah.
And this was like, you know, obviously has implications for the afterlife. I didn't get to read the article, but that was one of the 700 tabs that was open on my whatever. But yeah. So one part of the road when you're facing death or the loss of a person is to pretend, you know, you got it all together and you know everything, yada yada. And then the other side of it is to say everything sucks, it's all nihilistic, there's no meaning to life, yada. And you know that both of those are not true. Like, on the one hand, you know that you don't have it all together and you don't have all the answers and that you're full of doubts. But on the other hand, nihilism isn't true either, and you know that, because the reason you're sad that your friend is dead or your mom is dead or your significant other is because they were very meaningful. So I love finding third ways and stuff where you're not coming up with these really extreme solutions. What he's saying is, there is a meaning to life, I know that, which someday we may find. Which means I don't know it now, I'm searching for it, and I don't even know if I'm going to find it or not.
Right.
That is extremely mature. That is an extremely mature way of looking at life. And that's something that you only get with experience. But those two lines are pretty significant. Now the next line is, carry on, it's time to forget the remains in the past to carry on. I'm not sure that is possible. Especially if it's a you know, significant person that you lost. I mean, I don't really know what they're trying to say here. It's time to forget.
Yeah, but you don't know that it actually means death. Like, somebody died and you have to move past that death. It could just be, you know, we've talked about this before, that certain seasons are in your life and you do not have those seasons forever. Like, you can't hold on to everything from the past. And there's stuff that if you keep holding on to it, you know, like there's some people that, like, they never want to grow up. They never want to get old. They just always want to stay young.
They want to hold on to their
they want to hang on to their youth so much that it's like, you're old. It's done. It's over. Like, you have other things that are your strengths now. It's not.
And we're
it's
talking
not
about
you.
the guy, the 80-year-old guy in the Lambo.
Right. Blasting his music, leaning up against the car like he's.
Like, you're 80, bruh. It's over. Stop. Let it go.
Those tennis balls in the bottom of those the little thing that the walker. You know, you
That's
can.
terrible. Get a Lambo walker.
Yeah.
I'm sure a Lamborghini makes a walker somewhere. Okay, yeah. Like, if you're looking at it like the remains of the past in the sense of, you know, let go of your past, you're not that young person anymore or whatever, or that person, you know, whatever. Sure, right? Because it doesn't say necessarily the people, it just says it remains for the past, so that leaves you to interpret it different ways.
I think that if you can look at the past as something that, like, you're like, oh, like, that was a cool time, whatever, and then, but you can still live in the present, then you're okay. But if you can't be present with the people that you're with or the life that you're living because you're so busy, like, looking back to the past, then that's the problem. If you can be present here, okay. But.
I mean, I've lost significant people in my life in a multitude of different circumstances, and there are some days when, you know, I get kind of locked into that mode, thinking about those people and thinking about, if I'd have done this different, then this would have happened.
I think that there are times, but you know, some people they live in that every day. Like, you can't let yourself stay in that spot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, really, really good song. You know, rest in peace to Big Homie. But that's weird. What did he do in the band? Because that'd be pretty ironic if he was singing that song. Brazilian vocalist. Wow. So he was the one singing that. That's pretty crazy. That's deep. That's real deep. So, yeah, I mean, But I mean, death is the destiny of every man. You know, so anytime any singer makes a song about this subject,
I know
it's you know.
I mean, eventually, yeah.
You're always going to be singing about
right.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, shoot, somebody's going to be watching this video,
yeah,
and I'm going to be gone.
Talking about, yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
or me.
I mean, it's one of those things, man. What do you get the song?
Actually, not gonna rate it. I'm just gonna give it respect because the guy died.
Yeah. But if I would have rated it, it would have gotten a very high. Sometimes if the song is too significant or too close to something, we won't rate it out of just respect, because sometimes rating the song kind of trivializes it, and it's a pretty important moment. But
and the reason why we picked this one.
So to all the Angra fans, all the Andre Matos fans, you know, rest in peace to the big homie. We love y'all. We respect y'all. Viva Brazil. Go enjoy his music, man. That's why he was on the earth. You know, that's the other thing is, you know, you fulfill your mission. Everybody's got a mission, and he fulfilled his mission. He did what he needed to do. He did what God put him on the earth for, and he blessed millions of people. And you gotta love him for that. So
somebody had posted this. It says, when life is shit, but you find a new band you like, and he looks like he's dead, and then he's like, woo!
Yeah.
I'll put it on the screen right here.
Yeah.
So he was probably this for some people, you know?
Well, I told Lindsay from Cradle in our interview, you know, somebody went up to Martin Luther and said, what can I do to worship God? Like, how can I be devoted to God? And Martin Luther said, well, what's your job?
Oh, yeah.
And the guy says, well, I'm just a shoe cobbler. And he said, make the best damn shoes you can.
Yep.
That's God's work. And it's like,
yep.
That's probably one of the more, the divide between the sacred and secular is one of the more, one of the best things about the Protestant Reformation, if not the best thing. And you know, it's this idea that you're doing God's work when you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. So this guy wasn't supposed to be a preacher or a missionary or whatever. Like, he was supposed to be a vocalist. And so, you know, you gotta love the fact that, you know, he did it, and he did it excellently, obviously. Oh, look at that. Written by Andre Matos. Yeah. He wrote it. So, good Lord. Anyway, shout out to the big homie. Viva Brazil. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.